Hello and welcome back to another episode of Injustice For All MMA. My name is David, and this episode is for UFC Fight Night, Usman vs. Buckley. To put this whole fight card into like a little globe, the thing that that touches me on this fight card is three things. How up and down this card was. It went from really exciting to boring, to really exciting, to boring, to really exciting, to boring. And it ended with a disappointment of just how the whole Buckley thing is gone. Because this was supposed to be Buckley's shining moment. And in a way, it started off really badly. And it ended with a more optimistic note. I thought, if this had ended in a knockout loss for him, or just something worse, of him just getting fully dominated to the end, even in that fifth round, this would have put a more sour taste in my mouth. But instead I feel a lot more optimistic for Buckley. But besides the main event, the thing that really struck me is just how up and down this card was, from really exciting finishes and an exciting fight to really dull, boring, sleeper robberies that no one will care about because just how boring the fight was, and also how terrible commentary was. I don't know how many times I have to whine about commentary, but Brendan Fitzgerald and Dominic Cruz on commentary will kill me every single time. But let's start from the top. We start off with Horth V Demopolous, where there's no scorecard troubles. It's just a really a fight that turned out to be better than what it looked like. Then Rowe versus Loosa. Rowe was losing to Loosa for 2 rounds, and then just has a comeback win that's, you feel like, oh, this card's going to be great. This card's going to be great. And then we start to slightly slow down. We're going to start with Simone versus Smotherman. Okay, Simone versus Smotherman. I had this 29-28. That's the correct scorecard. I don't know how you don't come up with this scorecard. 29-28. First 2 rounds for Simone, last round for Smotherman. In the first round, Simone gets a takedown and has ground him out for 3+ minutes, and he outstruck Smotherman on the feet by about 10+ strikes. Second round, Simone gets a takedown for 2 minutes. Okay, he has a takedown for 2 minutes. He doesn't really do anything with it, and he outstrikes Smotherman by about 12 strikes on the feet. The third round, Smotherman outstrikes Simone by about 6 strikes, but he's outstriking him well for pretty much the entire round. You go to the scorecards, and this is the moment where it locked in for me that we're in for a long night of just really, really bad scorecards, and it didn't stop. It didn't stop. I don't know what it was. You can't say it was the crowd, because the crowd were mostly booing for large portions of this card. It was just how inept and shit the fucking judges were. Derek Cleary, his scorecard reflects mine. Gets the first 2 rounds to Simone, last round to Smotherman. This is the only correct scorecard in this fight. Okay, Will Fisher and John Margigliano, they give 30-27 to Ricky Simone. They give the last round to Ricky Simone. Ricky Simone is getting pieced up. And by pieced up, again, it's 6 strikes, but he's losing this round. He lost this round. And yet 2 judges decide, I guess we'll give it to Ricky Simone somehow. It makes no sense. Honorable mention to those 2. It's fine. It's a really bad scorecard. Really bad scorecard. We then go to Durden Ochoa, where you're thinking, oh man, Durden's going to get his moment in Georgia. Nope. He loses by KO in the second round. Wellmaker blows the roof off the place. KO's Moutinho. Who would? I was sitting there watching the intro, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, it's got to be, the intro's popping up, and I'm like, you know what? What's the line? The line's probably maybe. I was trying to be generous. In my head, I was thinking to myself, minus 1,000. I was trying to be generous, and I was like, maybe the odd makers are nice. Minus 700. No, it's almost a minus 2,000. It's minus 1,600 for Wellmaker. And the fight begins, and he's tagging him, he's touching him, Moutinho starts to then land and starts to do fairly well, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, Moutinho might bring this to like a decision. That's not what I think, but Moutinho might make this like slightly competitive, and then he gets flatlined. And I'm thinking, we're back. The card's going to be amazing. We're totally back. And then we get into this stretch of just absolute, I don't even know what to call it. It's just absolute grossness. Chiesa versus McGee. 29-28 for Chiesa. Last 2 rounds for Chiesa. First round, McGee outstrikes Chiesa by about 5 strikes. We're gonna get to these scorecards. This is fucking insane. He's outstriking Chiesa. I don't know how any other way you see it. He outstrikes Chiesa by 5 strikes in this first round. In the second round, Chiesa outstrikes McGee by about 3 strikes, and then in the third round, Chiesa outstrikes McGee by about 5 strikes. So it's Chiesa's fight to win. But I'm looking at these scorecards and they make no sense. 2 judges, Derek Cleary this time, and John Margliano, 30-27 to Chiesa. It's the wrong scorecard. Honorable mention to those 2. They give the first round to Chiesa. That's nonsense. There's no... Again, the commentary doesn't help. I'm not saying that the commentary influences the judging, but it doesn't help when those guys aren't properly seeing stuff. We'll get to them having their shining moment on just how bad their eyes are at certain parts in the fight. Will Fisher, his scorecard reflects mine. It's the correct scorecard. He gives the first round to McGee, the last 2 rounds to Chiesa. Next fight, Craig versus Bellato. This fight was interesting because before we even get to the finish, right, the finish in quotations, that ended up being a no contest, illegal upkick by Craig. I wanted, before... I didn't see everything happened so fast that before I saw the replay, this was my mindset. I was thinking, this should be a DQ win for Bellato. Now we'll get to the ending. But this was happening before. This is what happened before the ending. Craig was outstriking Bellato on the feet by about 8 strikes. 8 strikes on the feet. Bellato gets a takedown. And in that last little sequence, he's not landing a lot, but he... it looks nice and realistic, and Bellato gets a takedown, lands a tiny bit of ground and pound, but Craig is kind of active on the bottom. When Bellato gets down there, Craig is elbowing. Craig's pretty active on the bottom. If this fight had ended just like this, objectively speaking, Craig would have won this round. It would have been a sloppy-looking round, but Craig would have won this round. Instead, what we get is, towards the end, an illegal upkick that lands on Bellato. And it obviously didn't land flush because Bellato then, as he's falling, looks at the ref to initiate, hey, he just hit me illegally, and then pretends to fall asleep. And then when he wakes up, pretends that he saw a ghost, because this has never happened. The things he was doing before I had even saw the replay, I thought everything he was doing was theatrical. Here's what was so crazy. He pretends to be knocked out. This is before the replay. This is before my mind looks at the replay. He pretends to be knocked out. Excuse me, this was after the replay. He pretends to be knocked out. No, hold on. I'm all over the place here. Before I see the replay, this is my interpretation. He's knocked out. He then wakes back up, and he starts to grab on the ref. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a little... What is he... This is a little... Most fighters don't actually do that. There's very few fighters. Very few times that has actually happened. But he's grabbing him so aggressively. This is when I knew this whole thing was a little theatrical. The doctors come in, again, before I see the replay. The doctors come in, and he's pretending like he's seeing like a ghost. He starts moving back. Theatrically. And I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck is going on with him? Did he really get knocked out that badly? Man, he really got knocked out. Then the replay shows up. And it shows Bellato's a fucking clown, right? He's a clown. He gets hit with the illegal knee. He looks at the ref. He's asking, like, yo, what the fuck? I just got illegally kneed. And then he pretends to be knocked out. Then wakes up and pretends to grab the ref. Then pretends to see 3 doctors come in and pretends to see a ghost. It's absolute nonsense. And I'm sure they saw that on the replay. And they rightly were like, no, we're not going to. Fuck this guy. We're not giving him his money. Fuck this guy. He's not getting you're not getting your win bonus. You're not getting a DQ win. Here's your no contest. Goodbye. And I think that was the right decision. I think that was the right decision. Thank goodness for that. I wish the fight went on. I don't know how you can see the replay. He called time, which is an interesting. It's a very interesting thing. I don't know how you can't just see the upkick, see the replay, and then go, you're faking it. Continue fighting. I don't know how you can't do that. That's what was my thinking. If we had established, and funny thing, we'll get to the commentary. The commentary are being so PC about the situation. They break down the situation and understand that, hey, he's faking it, but they don't say it. They just kind of reference to it. They should be able to say he's faking it. And with that, the team that looked over the replay should be able to go, hey, he just faked that whole sequence. We can score this. We can score this and just move on and just continue fighting. Instead, they don't. It's a no contest. I'm kind of cool with that. And then they just move on. So, I mean, that's really that situation. Yeah, that's pretty much all in that situation. We go to the next honorable mention, and this one is a funny one. It's an honorable mention / robbery. It's really a sneaky robbery, and it's only a sneaky robbery because of how dull this fight was, and the lack of strikes coming from both guys, but mostly coming from Sy. Or C, his name is C. I'm talking about Menifield versus C. This fight is just heavy assurance that C should not even come near the top 15 yet. He's not even ready. He's not ready. He's not ready for the top 15 at all. He's not even close or ready for the top 15. Okay, Menifield versus C. First 2 rounds for C. I have this 29-28 for C. First 2 rounds for C. Last round for Menifield, obviously. You start off in the first round. C outstrikes Menifield by about 3 strikes. They're all strikes to the leg, strikes to the body, occasional strikes to the head. Menifield's also striking with him. C outstrikes him. It's very apparent that he outstrikes him. It's by a little bit, but it's very apparent. You go to the second round. Same, relatively the same thing. He outstrikes him by about 2 strikes, but he has a takedown. It takes him almost 2 minutes to get the takedown. He does nothing with it, but he gets the takedown, and he outstrikes him on the feet. It's not as though Menifield was out. This is what's funny about this fight. It's not as though Menifield was outstriking him in the first 2 rounds. You can't say that with certainty, and you can't say that with facts. You can't say that with anything. He wasn't outstriking him in the first 2 rounds, Menifield. C was outstriking him in the first 2 rounds. And then in the second round, not only was he outstriking him barely, he took him down. You go to the third round where it's Menifield's only round. That's the only round you can make for him. And he outstrikes him by about 12 strikes. Okay. You then go to these goddamn scorecards. You go to these scorecards and it makes you think, what the fuck are these guys watching? They're not watching. All 3 judges have all 3 judges have the exact same scorecard. When I heard this, I almost wanted to shoot myself. Will Fisher, Derek Cleary, Ron McCarthy, they give the first round to Menifield. We'll get to the Rose fight where I'm suspecting they did the same thing. It's almost like when a fighter throws one heavy strike, they've won the round. One heavy strike that lands, it nullifies all the other strikes that the other guy landed. And it's insane because it wasn't even as though he stunned him or concussed him or dropped him or anything of any substance. All 3 judges have the exact same scorecard. They give the first round to Menifield Wrong. They give the second round to C. Cool. Correct. Then they give the last round to Menifield. Also correct. These are all three bad scorecards. It's nonsense. And they low-key robbed a C. But this fight was so dead in the first two rounds that no one's going to care. And it doesn't even matter in a way. It really doesn't even matter. You go to the next fight. This one's a robbery. This isn't even an honorable mention. This is an actual robbery. And there's just so much bullshit surrounding it that, again, nobody cares. This was a bigger robbery than the Menifield C fight. And after the C fight, I was like, okay, the strikes are close. You can kind of argue some bullshit here, whatever. That's fine. Abdul-Malik versus Brundage. Abdul-Malik looked so awful in this fight. So awful. That's just him from a fighting standpoint. Let's get down to what happened, though. I'm so disgusted. This makes no sense. 29-28, Brundage. We'll get into it's a technical decision. We'll get into all that. 29-28, Brundage. First two rounds for Brundage. You go to the first round. Brundage is outstriking Abdul-Malik by about 7 strikes. He's outstriking him the entire round. He's outstriking him well. Abdul is missing. He's hesitant to throw. He's not landing at all. Brundage is attacking the legs. He's attacking the body. He's outstriking him well. Second round. Same thing. It's a lot closer on strikes. Brundage is doing the same thing he did in the first. Abdul picks it up slightly, but Brundage is still outstriking him. This time by 3 strikes. Okay? Very short margin, but he's outstriking him. You go to the fifth round where all hell breaks loose. You start the round. Brundage gets dropped immediately. He gets dropped pretty quickly, and he gets outstruck slightly, but they're trading. They're kind of just, now they're just shooting. They're both trading on each other. They're shooting for the moon. And then Abdul just throws his head. He just throws his head as though it was a strike. I think it was purposeful, but I'm not a fan of when a guy gets on the mic and he goes, yeah, the fight ended because of headbutt or something like that. Or what do you mean, or something like that? You know your head hit his head. We have to stop doing this thing where we assume that fighters don't know what landed on what. It's the most insane thing. Oh yeah, I don't know what I landed. It's one thing if you're just throwing a bunch of bullshit, but it wasn't. It wasn't. He crashed in. He crashed in his head, slammed him, and then he was just like, yeah, that's, I think something hit him. That's fucking baloney. Not something hit him. You hit him with the top of your fucking noggin, Abdul. But again, that doesn't fucking matter. The fight, we have to stop the fight there. The fight gets stopped. Like, the fight gets stopped as though it's a finish. Turns out, they looked through the replay. The replay got abused this night. It got abused. And they came back with the decision that, okay, it was up until the illegal headbutt, we have to score the fight. And if you score it based off of what happened before the headbutt, it's obvious that Abdul wins the round. He dropped him, he outstruck him slightly, but they were both trading. Boom. Abdul won the round. You go to the full scorecard, it's 29-28 Brundage. That should be the scorecard. Instead, all night we've had inept, shitty judging. And it gets even worse. John Margigliano and Saul D'Amato, terrible. They give only the first round to Brundage. They give the second round to Abdul. 29-28 to Abdul. Nonsense. Will Fisher has the worst scorecard of the night. He gives a 30-27. He gives a 30-27 to Mansour. And Mansour has the... This is what doesn't make any sense. He has the goal to then make like a face as though he's like, what? I should have won all three. I should have won all 3 rounds. What are you talking about? You lost. You can't find a second round. You realistically can't find a second round for Abdul-Malik. And somehow, some way, this judge found three of them. He found 3 rounds for him. So, there's another robbery that nobody will give a fuck about. Nobody's going to care because that's just how it is. Next honorable mention, Garbrandt versus Barcelos. Garbrandt started off well, 29-28 for Barcelos. First round for Garbrandt, last 2 rounds for Barcelos. Close marker on the first round. You can argue the first round for Barcelos if you want. You go to that first round, it's close on strikes. Close on strikes with the edge to Garbrandt. Garbrandt's like outstriking him the entire round. Barcelos starts to come back on strikes. It's a good-looking round for Garbrandt. Barcelos is trying to get takedowns. He's deterring the takedowns. It doesn't matter the scoring, but he's deterring a lot of the takedowns. He's stopping all of the takedowns. He's outstriking him effectively. Barcelos starts to come back on strikes. He gets close, and then Barcelos gets a takedown to close the round. It doesn't really matter because he got it like at the very, very end, but during the round, Garbrandt is outstriking Barcelos. It's a good looking round for Garbrandt. But it's close given that the strikes are very close and Barcelos gets a takedown at the end. So go to the second round. Barcelos outstrikes Garbrandt by about 9 strikes. That's pretty clear. Third round, Barcelos gets a takedown and he outstrikes Garbrandt by about 4 strikes. It's his round for sure. You go to the judges' scorecards. Oh, here we go. Found him. You go to the judges' scorecards, and all of them reflect my scorecard. 29-28 on all 3 judges' scorecards. Ron McCarthy, Mike Bell, Nate Mann. Boom. You can argue the first round for Barcelos if you want. You can make, if you want to be cute about it, 30-27 for Barcelos, but Garbrandt looked too nice that it would be, it's one of those things. Next honorable mention. Again, this fight just had an ebb and flow of just boring, exciting, boring, exciting. Forgot to mention, Menifield and you go from Chiesa McGee, boring, to Menifield versus C up until maybe the 3rd round. That was boring. Malik Brundage is boring up until you get into the 3rd round. Garbrandt Barcelos was actually okay. And then back to another boring fight. Unless you're a Shahbazyan fan. Shahbazyan versus Petroski. It's a 30-27. Guys, it's a 30-27. If you see anything other than a 30-27, you got to go home. You got to get locked up. 30-27, you go to the first round. Shahbazyan outstruck Petroski by about 10 strikes. Okay. He outstruck him by about 10 strikes. You go to the second round, he outstruck him by about 4 strikes. Smaller margin, Petroski's actually doing a little bit better in this round, but it's not enough. Not only... It's not even close. Shahbazyan is outstriking him in the first part of the round. Petroski comes back a little bit, and then Shahbazyan finishes the round very well. Fuck the optics. He just on the straight numbers, he outstrikes him in the second round. You go to the 3rd round, and this round pissed me off for commentary reasons, but let me read this out. Petroski gets a takedown, does nothing with it. He gets dropped by Shahbazyan. I'll explain the drop in a second. And he outstrikes Petroski by about 7 strikes. Petroski gets dropped by Shahbazyan, and it's not a traditional drop. He gets dropped. I'm watching it, and what's funny? Shahbazyan throws a leg kick, and it lands on the arm/elbow of Petroski, and Petroski grabs his elbow, almost as though, that feeling where you're walking or you hit the side of your elbow on something and your hand starts to vibrate. I don't know if that's the feeling that Petroski had, but he grabbed his hand as though that happened. He never grabbed not only did he never grab his side, his liver or his body, there wasn't a mark on his body that showed a foot on it. Almost immediately when I saw that leg kick land twice. First of all, when I saw it land the first time, when he threw the leg kick, I was like, oh, he hit his hand. Like, it was like the 3rd time in the fight that Petroski had touched his hand in a way. And so, hits his hand. Petroski grabs his hand. I'm like, oh, shit, it just affected his arm. Like, he just hit his arm. Did he break it? That's what I'm asking, but who knows. Hits his arm. Hits it again, and Petroski falls. I'm like, oh, shit, he just dropped him, but it wasn't a body kick. But the commentary is just screaming, it's a body kick, it's a body kick. Brandon Fitzgerald, it's a body kick. I'm like, what the fuck what are we talking about? Fight ends, cool. They say the decision, which we'll get to. And then, once the ref lets go of their hands, what's the first thing that he grabs? Petroski grabs his fucking hand. The same hand that got fucking hit 3 times. I don't know why I'm mad about this, but it's just weird that I'm getting told by commentary it's a body kick, but it's really a Shahbazyan just kicked the fuck out of his hand. Anyways, you go to the scorecards, and they're good, but then they're stupid. Saw the Amato Wolfish, they have the correct scorecards. It's 30-27 to Shahbazyan, and then it's Nate Man who wants to be cute and give the second round to Petroski, 29-28 to Shahbazyan. Honorable mention is fucking stupid. We go to the next honorable mention. And this one's a unique one. Again, we go from boring to actually a really fun fight. Namajunas versus Maverick, 29-28 to Namajunas. Close marker in the second round. First round for Maverick. Third round for Namajunas. I gave the second round to Namajunas, but you can argue that round for Namajunas. You can argue that round for Maverick. Honestly, you can give this fight to Maverick or Namajunas, but the judges are too influenced by either the crowd or just how shit they are for some reason. You go to the first round. Maverick is outstriking Namajunas. How did they miss this? Maverick outstrikes Namajunas by about 5 strikes. Namajunas lands like a heavy strike on her, and the crowd's like, "Oh shit!" And the judges just decide, yeah, everything that Miranda just landed, that didn't matter. She's outstriking her like pretty well, but that didn't matter. Namajunas hit her like one heavy time. That didn't matter. Cool. It's just insane. Look at those scorecards. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You go to the second round. Namajunas has 2 takedowns with some ground and pound, and she has a submission attempt to run. It's like a neck crank, and she outstrikes Maverick on the feet by about 3-4 strikes. Maverick gets a reversal, lands some pretty decent ground and pound, and has a pretty deep submission attempt to close the round. All of this to close the round. You can make an argument that she won the round based off that. I wouldn't. I think Rose did enough before Maverick initiated her offense, and Maverick did all that in like 30, pretty much in 30 seconds. But to me, this round belongs to Namajunas, but you can make an argument that Maverick is the one who did the more effective work in this round, which is where, you can make an argument for this being a close fight. You go to the third round, Namajunas gets a takedown, and she just lays on her. But before she gets this takedown, with some ground and pound, she drops Maverick, and it's an interesting one. The commentary make a noise and go, she dropped her, and while it'll count as a drop, it didn't look like a drop. I almost had to, there's been drops tonight where you just catch them and you're like, that's a drop, but it's not a drop. Like they fell, but it's not a traditional I hit you in the head and you fell. She landed a shot on Maverick, and Maverick did like a computer shutdown. She kind of just stopped, and like her leg tweaked, and then she just like she like fell down slowly, and I was like, that's not how people get. That's not how people drop. And she just kind of fell, and I was like, and even when she was fighting back, I'm like, she's not like hurt. She fell and she lost even without the drop, but like she just fell, and I'm like, that was just weirdly interesting. She got outstruck by about 5 strikes. Maverick did, and she was also active on the bottom. She was fairly active on the bottom, but regardless, she lost the round. You go to the judges' scorecards, and just all of them honorable mentions. It's fucking ridiculous and nonsense. Ron McCarthy gives the first round to Namajunas. It's just a bad score. He gives the first round to Namajunas, because the second round to Maverick, again, you can make an argument for that. Gives the last round to Namajunas. He has a 29-28. Next 2 judges, honorable mention of those 2, John Margliano and Derek Cleary, just bad scorecards, 30-27 across the board. And they give the first round to Namajunas. Insane. You go to the last fight of the night, and I thought I wouldn't have to discuss this. I was watching it. Usman versus Buckley. I almost just wanted to talk about the narrative. It was, before we even get to the fight, I was hoping that this would be his crowning achievement, that this would be his moment. And it was almost his moment. I'm not saying he was close to knocking out Usman in the 5th round, but it was almost his moment. But he'll be back. He'll be back to fight another day. That's all I have on the narrative. That's all I have on that. As for the fight, it's weird because the narrative pisses me off more than the way this fight was scored. I was just assuming it would be different. I was assuming this fight would turn out different. I really was. And then even before that, they were talking about Usman fighting for a title next. No. I'm thinking Brady. I'm thinking, who's that other guy? I'm thinking Brady. I'm thinking, damn it, who's the other guy? I'm thinking Bilal Muhammad. But let's get to the fight. Usman versus Buckley. This is the culmination of, this is just the end of how shit the judges were. Usman versus Buckley, I had it 49-46. What else is there? What else is there? There's nothing else. It's 49-46. If any other score, guys, listen, any other scorecard and you're an idiot. Any other scorecard and you're not thinking. You're not watching. Any other scorecard and you're not watching. Usman versus Buckley. 49-46. You get the first 4 rounds to Usman, last round for Buckley. Simple as that. You go to the first round. Usman gets a takedown with ground and pound for 4+ minutes of ground and pound. You know, he starts to initiate the heavy ground and pound at like the 3+ mark, really. Not enough ground and pound to really throw in a 10-8 there, but it's, yeah. That's what happened in the first round. You go to the second round, he does the same thing pretty much. He gets a takedown with ground and pound for 3+ minutes. You go to the 4th round. This is where Buckley starts to kind of like liven up. He outstrikes Usman on the feet by about 7 strikes, but then he gets taken down and just gets hit with ground and pound for about 2+ minutes. Same thing in the 4th round, but a judge got confused. Buckley's outstriking Usman on the feet by a less margin, actually. It's even worse on the feet, actually. Buckley outstrikes Usman on the feet by about 4 strikes, but Usman gets a takedown. He has less time. He has like a minute plus, but he's landing effective ground and pound. The ground and pound that he lands in the first 4 rounds nullifies everything that Buckley did on the feet and even on the ground from whatever Buckley did on his back. Insane that we even got a judge to give a round for the 4th round to Buckley. 5th round is the only round you give to Buckley. It's Buckley's best round. It's his only round. You get the point. Buckley outstruck Usman by 15 strikes. He was going so ham in that round that I was thinking, man, he might land something crazy. He doesn't. He outstrikes him by about 15 rounds, and that's where you got it. 49-46. Derek Cleary, Saul Diamato, their scorecards reflect mine, and then Mike Bell, honorable mention, super honorable mention. He gives the last 2 rounds to Buckley. He was specifically talking about the 4th round. He gives the 4th round to Buckley. Most of that round is on the feet, correct. But even though Buckley's outstriking Usman on the feet, it's by 4 strikes, and Buckley was getting tagged well on the feet too, up until he gets taken down, and then given pretty vicious ground and pound for a minute plus of that round. So I don't know what else to talk about. That's pretty much it. Thank you all for listening, and God bless.